You will never succeed. You are always a failure. Look at you. Still nothing. I wasted years on a man who will die mediocre. You will never be rich. You will never be respected. Everyone will laugh at you the same way I laugh at you now.
You are nothing but a loser. You will never build anything. You don't have what it takes. You are a failure, and you will always be a failure. Stay on your knees where you belong.
Before I tell you how a man who drove an old Suzuki eventually became the man Camila would come begging to, stay with me. What happened in that courtroom was only the beginning. If you've ever been underestimated by someone you loved, subscribe and stay until the end. You may understand why Thomas Taylor never looked at success the same way again. My name is Thomas Taylor, and before everything changed, I was just an ordinary man with an old Suzuki and an idea nobody believed in. Camila and I met on a rainy Saturday evening. A mutual friend had invited us to dinner, and I almost didn't go. I had been working late and was tired enough to stay home. But I went. That decision changed my life. Camila was sitting near the window when I arrived. She looked up, smiled, and moved her purse so I could sit beside her. "You're late. I almost didn't come." "Then I'm glad you did." I smiled. "So am I." We talked for hours. Nothing about money. Nothing about status. Nothing about success. Just two people discovering each other's dreams. Camila wanted a beautiful home someday. I wanted to build a company. She wanted children. I wanted to create something that would allow us to live without constantly worrying about the next paycheck. Back then, she didn't laugh at my ambitions. She encouraged them. When I told her I wanted to build software for small businesses, she looked at me seriously. "You really believe you can do it?" "Yes." "Then I'll believe it too." Those words stayed with me. We married 2 years later. Our wedding wasn't extravagant. There was no luxury venue or celebrity photographer. Just family, close friends, music, food, and two people convinced they had found forever. For a while, forever felt real. We lived in a small apartment. Our furniture didn't match. The kitchen was barely large enough for two people, and my old Suzuki had a habit of making strange noises whenever I turned the key. Camila used to joke about it. "One day, Thomas, I'm going to make you replace that thing." I would laugh. "Never. You love that car more than me. That's impossible." "Good answer." She would kiss me. Those memories became painful later because they reminded me that she hadn't always been the woman who wanted me gone. Something changed gradually. Camila started working around people who measured success differently. Her friends talked about vacations, investments, luxury apartments, and promotions. Her parents introduced her to executives and business owners, and suddenly, our little life began to look small to her. One evening, she came home and dropped her handbag on the kitchen counter. "Thomas? Yeah? Do you ever think about where we'll be in 5 years?" "All the time." "Where?" I smiled. "Running my company. Maybe a bigger house. Maybe 2 kids." She stared at me. "And if the company doesn't work?" "It will." "But what if it doesn't?" I shrugged. "Then I'll try again." She didn't smile. "That's your answer?" "Yes." She walked away. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now. She wasn't asking whether I would keep trying. She was asking whether I could guarantee success. And I couldn't. My business idea was simple in theory. Small companies struggled to track invoices, deliveries, contracts, and payments across different systems. I wanted to create one platform that brought everything together. I spent nights researching. Weekends became work days. My savings disappeared into software development. Sometimes I would come home after midnight and find Camila asleep. I tried not to wake her. I would quietly sit at the kitchen table, open my laptop, and keep working. I believed sacrifice was temporary. I believed she understood. One night, she woke up and found me still working. "Thomas." I looked up. "Yeah? What are you doing?" "Fixing the payment module." She sighed. "It's almost 2 in the morning." "I know." "You've been doing this for months. It'll be worth it." She stared at me. "Will it?" I didn't answer. She went back to bed. That question stayed with me. A few weeks later, I finally had something to show her. I opened the prototype on my laptop. Look, Camila sat beside me. I explained everything. The system could track payments. It could organize invoices. It could notify businesses when contracts were approaching deadlines. I was excited. For the first time, I thought maybe this could become something real. When I finished, I looked at her. Well? She stared at the screen. That's it? My smile disappeared. What do you mean? I thought it would be more. It's a prototype. You've spent almost a year on this. Because I'm building it. She closed the laptop. Thomas, I don't want to spend my life waiting for your potential. I felt something inside me tighten. My potential? You know what I mean. No, I don't. She stood. I need stability. I am trying to build stability. You're trying to build a dream. What's wrong with that? Nothing. She picked up her handbag. But I don't know if I want to wait around to see whether your dream becomes reality. That was the first time I realized I might lose her. But I still believed love could survive uncertainty. I was wrong. Over the following months, the arguments became more frequent. Camila complained about the apartment. She complained about the Suzuki. She complained about my clothes. She complained about how much time I spent working. And eventually, she complained about me. You're always talking about what you'll become, she said one night. Maybe you should look at what you are now. I stared at her. What am I now? She hesitated. Then she said it. Ordinary. The word hurt more than she knew. I had never considered ordinary an insult. But from the woman I loved, it felt like one. Her father, Raymond Martin, made things worse. He had built a successful property business and believed money was the clearest measure of competence. One Sunday afternoon, he asked me to meet him privately. I've spoken to Camila. My stomach tightened. About what? Her future. She can speak for herself. He smiled. That's exactly the problem. I frowned. What does that mean? You keep talking about your potential. I have a business plan. You have an idea. Everyone starts with an idea. Successful people don't stay there. I said nothing. He leaned forward. Camila deserves more than promises. That evening, I told Camila what happened. She didn't defend me. Instead, she said, "Maybe Dad has a point." I looked at her for several seconds. "Do you believe that?" She looked away. "I don't know anymore." That was the moment I realized our marriage was already breaking. Not because we had stopped loving each other completely, but because she had stopped believing in the person I was becoming. Still, I refused to give up. I found a small investor willing to look at my prototype. The meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. For the first time in months, I felt hope. I polished my presentation, pressed my suit, cleaned the old Suzuki until it looked almost new. And before leaving, I stood in front of the mirror. I didn't see a failure. I saw a man who hadn't succeeded yet. There was a difference. I grabbed my keys. As I walked toward the door, Camila called my name. I turned. She was standing in the hallway, staring at me. What? She hesitated. Then she said something that made my entire body go cold. "Thomas, when you come back, we need to talk about our marriage." I stood there, holding the keys to my old Suzuki. I didn't know it yet, but that conversation would change everything. And the investor meeting waiting for me that morning would determine whether I had anything left to fight for. The investor meeting was supposed to be the beginning of everything. Instead, it became the morning I learned how quickly hope could disappear. I parked my old Suzuki outside a glass office building, checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, and took a breath. My hands were shaking. Because I knew that when I returned home, Camila wanted to talk about our marriage. I walked into the building carrying the only thing I had left that still felt mine, the belief that I could build something. The investor listened for 20 minutes. Then he closed my presentation. "Thomas, the idea is interesting." My heart lifted. "But you don't have enough capital, experience, or proof. With what money?" I had no answer. "I don't think you're ready." Those words followed me to the parking lot. I sat in the Suzuki until my phone rang. "Camila, where are you?" "On my way home." "Good. We need to talk." Her voice was cold and final. When I arrived, her parents were sitting in our living room. Raymond was holding a folder. Camilla stood beside the window. Her mother wouldn't look at me. I already knew. What is this? Camilla took a breath. I want a divorce. The room seemed to shrink. I looked at Raymond. He didn't say anything. Then I looked at Camilla. Is this because the investor rejected me? No. Then what? She swallowed. Because I've realized I don't want this life. I laughed once, quietly. What life? This one. She gestured toward the apartment. This uncertainty, this waiting, this hoping that someday you'll become successful. I stared at her. I thought you loved me. I do. Then why are you leaving? Because love isn't enough. That sentence destroyed something in me. I spent weeks trying to save the marriage. I asked for counseling. She refused. I promised to work harder. She said that was exactly the problem. Nothing worked. The divorce became inevitable. But while my marriage was collapsing, something unexpected happened. Marcus Reed called me. Marcus had been my closest friend since college. He had seen my prototype. He had also seen me fail. Thomas, he said, I think you're looking at this the wrong way. What do you mean? You're trying to sell software to companies that don't know you. That's how business works. No, you need one company willing to take a chance. He sent me an email. Inside was the name of a small transportation company that had just lost thousands of dollars because of payment and delivery errors. They need exactly what you've built, Marcus said. They'll never trust me. Then make them trust you. I called the company. The owner agreed to meet me. I arrived in the old Suzuki 20 minutes early. The owner, David Coleman, was a tired-looking man in his 50s. He cared about one thing. Can you solve my problem? Yes. Prove it. I worked for 3 weeks without charging him, rebuilding my system around his company's needs. I stayed late, answered calls at midnight, and drove across the city when something went wrong. For the first time, I wasn't trying to prove my potential. I was solving a real problem. At the end of the 3rd week, David called me into his office. He placed a check on the desk. My first real business payment. I stared at it. How much is this? Enough to tell you we're keeping the system. I couldn't speak. It wasn't a fortune, but it was proof. I sat in my old Suzuki and cried, not because I was rich, but because someone had finally paid me for something I had built with my own hands. That night, I told Camilla. She looked at the check. How much? I told her. That's good. No excitement, no hug, no pride. Strangely, it hurt less than it once would have. Something inside me had changed. I no longer needed her applause. I needed progress. The divorce was finalized soon afterward. Camilla kept the apartment and most of the furniture. I kept my clothes, laptop, and old Suzuki. For the first time in years, I was completely alone. But I was also free. Marcus joined me formally. We rented a tiny office above a mechanic's shop and called the company Taylor Systems. The ceiling leaked. The chairs didn't match. The internet failed constantly. But it was ours. The first months were brutal. Clients disappeared, bills piled up, and there were nights when Marcus and I ate sandwiches in the office. Maybe we should quit, he said one night. No, because I've already lost everything once. We kept going. 1 client became 3. 3 became 11. 11 became 40. Our system started spreading through small transportation companies. Then a regional logistics firm noticed us. They wanted a demonstration. I spent 4 nights preparing. When it ended, the executive shook my hand. We'd like to sign. Outside, I called Marcus. We got it! He screamed so loudly, I moved the phone away. That contract changed everything. We hired employees and moved into a real building. Our software expanded and revenue grew. For the first time, I could afford things I once considered impossible. But I kept the old Suzuki. People asked why. I never explained. That car reminded me of the man I was, before everyone decided I wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Camilla's life looked perfect from the outside. She attended expensive events with her parents and appeared happy. I stopped looking. I had learned something important. Sometimes the fastest way to move forward is to stop checking whether the people behind you regret letting you go. Then, one Tuesday morning, something unexpected happened. Our company received an invitation from a major investment group. They wanted to discuss acquiring a significant stake in Taylor Systems. Marcus nearly fell out of his chair. This could make us national. I smiled. Then let's be ready. The meeting lasted 3 hours. After 3 hours, the lead investor looked at me. Mr. Taylor, we're prepared to make an offer. I stared at the number on the screen. It was more money than I had imagined seeing connected to my name. I thought about the courtroom that had not yet happened. I thought about Camilla's words that I would never be rich. I thought about Raymond telling me I didn't have what it took. But I didn't celebrate. I simply closed my folder. Send me the terms. That evening, driving home in the old Suzuki, my phone rang. Camilla. I almost didn't answer. Thomas, can we talk? I heard about your company, she said. Congratulations. Thank you. Then she asked a question that made me realize our past wasn't finished. Do you still hate me? I didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was more complicated. I didn't hate her, but I wasn't the man she had left behind anymore, and I had no idea why she was calling now. Then she whispered, because there's something I need to tell you. And when she finally told me what had happened inside her family, I realized the divorce had been only one piece of a much bigger story. The call from Camilla ended before I could ask another question. I sat behind the wheel of the old Suzuki, staring through the windshield at the city lights. For years, I had wondered why she left. Now I was beginning to suspect that the answer had never been as simple as, you weren't successful enough. Something had happened inside the Martin family. Something serious. And somehow, it had followed me all the way into the life I was building. I almost didn't go when Camilla asked to meet. Then Marcus looked at me and said, if she knows something about your company, you need to hear it. I hated that he was right. When I arrived, Camilla was already there. She looked different. Not physically. Emotionally. The confidence I remembered was gone. She kept turning a glass between her fingers. Thank you for coming, she said. Tell me. She took a breath. My father borrowed money. How much? She told me. I stared at her. That much? She nodded. He used company assets as collateral. And the company is in trouble. I leaned back. What does that have to do with me? She looked down. Your company bought one of the firms connected to his debt. I felt my stomach tighten. What? Your acquisition team bought the company 6 months ago. I remembered the acquisition. It had been one of several smaller companies absorbed into Taylor Systems. I had never known Raymond was connected to it. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. I studied her face. Camilla, shame didn't stop you from humiliating me. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. For the first time, she didn't defend herself. She simply sat there. Then she said something I never expected. My father is being investigated. For what? Fraud. The word hung between us. I didn't answer. Camilla explained that Raymond had been moving money between companies to hide losses. When auditors discovered irregularities, everything began collapsing. Her mother had found documents proving that Raymond had also used money from one of their investment accounts without her knowledge. And now the company could be destroyed. I looked at her. Why are you telling me? Because your company discovered the irregularities. That changed everything. My legal team had flagged suspicious transactions during the acquisition. I had assumed they were ordinary accounting problems. They weren't. Raymond had been hiding losses for years. Camilla reached across the table. I know what we did to you. I pulled my hand away. You don't get to fix that with an apology. I know. Then what do you want? She whispered. A chance. I stood. You had one. I left. The evidence became worse. Raymond had manipulated records, moved money between subsidiaries, and concealed liabilities. But there was another discovery. A document dated 3 years earlier. My name appeared on it. I stared at the page. I had never signed it. Someone had used my old business proposal to create a false authorization. Marcus looked at me. Thomas, this is bigger than we thought. I nodded. Find out who created it. The investigation led back to someone inside Raymond's organization. A former executive admitted that Raymond had ordered the documents prepared. He had planned to use my failed startup as a scapegoat if the financial problems became public. I felt sick. Camila hadn't just left me because she thought I was unsuccessful. Her family had been protecting a secret, and I had nearly been sacrificed to protect it. Then the court summoned me. The hearing was connected to the financial investigation. Camila was there. Her parents were there. I walked into the courtroom wearing a dark suit. I didn't look at them. The judge reviewed the evidence. Raymond's attorney argued that the documents were incomplete. My attorney presented the records. Then Camila stood. She walked toward me. I thought she was going to apologize. She didn't. Instead, something inside her snapped. Her voice became sharp. You will never succeed. You were always a failure. Look at you. Still nothing. I wasted years on a man who will die mediocre. You will never be rich. You will never be respected. You will never be enough. Everyone will laugh at you the same way I laugh at you now. Then she grabbed the glass of water from the table. Before anyone could react, she poured it over my face. Cold water struck my forehead and ran into my eyes. It soaked my suit. The courtroom gasped. I didn't move. My jaw tightened. I looked straight ahead. Then Raymond stood. He began clapping. Slowly. Loudly. He pointed at me. Look at this pathetic man. You are nothing but a loser. You will never build anything. You don't have what it takes. You are a failure, and you will always be a failure. Stay on your knees where you belong. Camilla's mother stood beside him. She nodded. Then she clapped too. I realized I wasn't angry because they had called me a failure. I was angry because, for years, I had secretly feared they were right. That was the final thing I needed to overcome. Not them. Me. I stood slowly. I wiped the water from my eyes. Then I looked at Camila. She expected anger. She expected an argument. She expected me to defend myself. Instead, I said quietly, "You're going to regret believing that was the last chapter." Then I walked away. The courtroom doors closed behind me. Outside, I stood on the courthouse steps. My phone rang. Marcus. Thomas. The board approved the acquisition. I closed my eyes. What acquisition? The national expansion. I looked toward the city. For the first time, I understood something. The people who had humiliated me were still measuring me by who I had been. They had no idea who I had become. The investigation into Raymond became public. His company collapsed. His reputation disappeared. Camila lost almost everything she thought defined her. But I never celebrated. I had learned that success was not about watching someone else fall. It was about refusing to fall with them. Then, one afternoon, my assistant entered my office. "Mr. Taylor?" "Yes?" "There are 3 people waiting downstairs." "Who?" She hesitated. Camila Martin, her mother, and her father. I froze. "Tell them I'm busy." They said they'll wait. I looked through the glass wall of my office. For the first time in years, I remembered the courtroom, the water, the laughter, the words. You will never succeed. I looked at my reflection. Then I said, "Let them come up." The elevator began moving, and with every passing floor, I realized that the moment I had once imagined 1,000 times was finally happening. Camila was coming back, but this time, I was no longer the man she had left. And whatever she was about to ask me for would force me to decide whether success had truly changed me, or whether the wounded man from that courtroom was still sitting somewhere inside me. I knew then that the past had finally found its way back to my door at last. The elevator doors opened at exactly 9:14 in the morning. Camila Martin stepped out first. Her mother followed. Then Raymond. I barely recognized the man. The confidence was gone from his face. His shoulders were lowered, and he held a leather folder against his chest, as though it were the only thing keeping him standing. Camila looked toward my desk. I remembered the courtroom, the glass of water, the laughter. You will never succeed. Now she was standing inside the office she once believed I would never have. She walked toward me slowly. Thomas. I didn't answer. Her mother stopped several feet away. Raymond didn't even look at me. Camila swallowed. We need your help. There it was. The sentence I had never imagined hearing from her. I leaned back in my chair. Why? Her eyes filled with tears. Because you're the only person who can fix this. I looked at her parents. No. Camila blinked. You haven't even heard what we need. I heard enough. She stepped closer. Please. That word carried more weight than anything else she had said. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. Years earlier, I would have dreamed about this moment. I would have imagined her standing in front of me, finally realizing she had been wrong. But now that it was happening, I understood something. Being right didn't erase what had happened. I stood. My legal team has already reviewed your father's situation. Raymond finally looked at me. Thomas, I made mistakes. You made choices. He lowered his eyes. I know. No, you don't. The room became silent. You told me I didn't have what it took. You told me to stay on my knees. You watched your daughter humiliate me and applauded. His face tightened. I was wrong. I looked at him. That doesn't undo it. I know. For the first time, Raymond sounded like an ordinary old man instead of the powerful businessman I had once feared. Camila wiped her tears. I was wrong too. I looked at her. She took another step. I thought success was something you could see on a bank statement. I thought your car, your clothes, your apartment. They told me who you were. She paused. I was wrong. I didn't speak. I left because I was afraid, she continued. I was afraid that you would fail, and that I would have to admit I had chosen a life that wasn't impressive. Her voice broke. But you didn't fail, Thomas, I answered quietly. You just stopped believing in me. She nodded. Yes. That admission hurt more than an apology. Her mother finally spoke. We treated you terribly. I looked at her. I know. She began crying. We thought your ambition was arrogance because you didn't have money yet. I sat down. Why are you here? Camila placed the leather folder on my desk. Inside were financial documents, legal notices, and a proposed restructuring agreement. Her father's company could survive, but only if Taylor Systems acquired the remaining assets and absorbed the debt under strict conditions. I studied the numbers. You want me to save the company? Camila nodded. No, I said. Her face fell. I want you to save us. I closed the folder. That's not my responsibility. I know. Then why are you asking? Because you taught me something. What? That people can become something you never expected. I looked at her. She smiled sadly through her tears. I spent years believing I had escaped a mediocre life. She glanced around my office. Then I realized I had walked away from the man who was building something extraordinary. I didn't feel proud. I felt sad. Because there was a time when hearing those words would have meant everything to me. Now they came too late. I stood and walked toward the windows. Below me, the city moved without caring about any of us. Camila. Yes? I'll help. She looked up. But not because I still love you. Her expression changed. I'll help because I know what it feels like to have everything collapsing around you. Raymond looked at me. You'll save the company? No. I turned toward him. I'll help rebuild what can be saved. Your name won't control it. Your decisions won't control it. And I won't cover up anything illegal. He nodded. Agreed. There will be independent oversight. Agreed. And if investigators find wrongdoing, you cooperate fully. Raymond hesitated. Then he nodded. Agreed. Camila began crying again. Thank you. I shook my head. Don't thank me yet. She looked confused. This isn't forgiveness. I understand. Forgiveness isn't pretending nothing happened. She nodded slowly. I know. We spent the next 6 months restructuring the company. Raymond cooperated with investigators. Some assets were sold. Others were saved. Employees who had done nothing wrong kept their jobs. Camila started working with the restructuring team. For the first time, I saw the woman I had married years earlier begin to return. Not because she wanted me back, because she finally understood responsibility. One evening, she came into my office. "I have something for you." She placed a small envelope on my desk. Inside was an old photograph. Our wedding. The old apartment. The Suzuki parked outside. I smiled. "I forgot about this." I didn't. She sat across from me. "I used to think the happiest years of my life were behind me. And now," she looked at me, "now I think they taught me what happiness actually was." I didn't answer. She didn't ask me to come back. That mattered. Instead, she said, "I'm sorry." I believed her. That didn't mean I wanted the marriage back. Some doors can be forgiven without being reopened. A year later, Taylor Systems had become one of the fastest-growing logistics technology companies in the region. The old Suzuki was still parked in my garage. Marcus hated it. "You can buy 20 new cars." "I know. So why keep that thing?" I smiled. "Because it reminds me." "Of what?" "Who I was before anyone believed in me." He nodded. "You're different now." "I hope so." One afternoon, I drove the Suzuki to the old courthouse. I parked outside and sat quietly. I remembered the wetsuit, the water running down my face, Camila's words, her father's laughter. For years I thought success would feel like revenge. It didn't. It felt like peace. I realized that the greatest victory wasn't making them regret hurting me. It was reaching a place where their opinion no longer determined my value. My phone rang. It was Camila. "Thomas?" "Yeah?" "I just wanted to say thank you." I smiled. "You're welcome." We hung up. I started the Suzuki. Camila once told me I would never be enough. She was wrong. Not because I became rich, but because I was already enough before anyone believed in me. Never let another person's opinion become the limit of your future. Keep building. Keep learning. Rise.